Listen to this every day and decide that today is the day you stop waiting for life to prove itself to you. Decide that you will no longer let uncertainty control your emotions or fear dictate your actions. Act as if everything is working out for you, not because you are ignoring reality, but because you are choosing power over panic. The way you show up internally determines how life responds externally. When you shift your inner state, your outer world begins to change. Every day, your mind wakes up looking for evidence to confirm what you already believe. If you believe life is against you, you will notice obstacles everywhere. If you believe nothing ever works out, you will find proof in every delay. But the moment you decide to act as if things are aligning for you, your focus changes. You begin to notice opportunities instead of problems. You move with confidence instead of hesitation. That shift alone can change the direction of your life. Acting as if everything is working out does not mean pretending that challenges don't exist. It means facing challenges with certainty instead of fear. It means trusting yourself enough to believe that no matter what happens, you will handle it, learn from it, and grow stronger because of it. This mindset removes the emotional weight from obstacles. Problems become manageable, pressure becomes fuel, uncertainty becomes a doorway instead of a wall. When you act as if things are working out, your body changes, your posture shifts, your breathing slows, your voice becomes steadier. These physical changes send signals to your brain that you are safe, capable, and in control. Your brain responds by thinking more clearly and making better decisions. Confidence is not something you wait for, it is something you generate through the way you act and think right now. Listen to this every day because repetition rewires your mind. The thoughts you repeat become the beliefs you live by. The beliefs you live by shape your actions, and your actions create your results. When you repeatedly choose trust over fear, you train your mind to expect progress. You stop overthinking every step. You stop needing guarantees before you move. You start taking action from a place of certainty, and momentum begins to build. Momentum changes everything. When you move forward with belief, even small steps feel powerful. You begin to trust yourself more. You stop doubting every decision. You stop looking for permission to grow. Acting as if everything is working out allows you to stay emotionally grounded even when results are not immediate. You understand that progress is happening beneath the surface long before it becomes visible. This mindset also builds resilience. When setbacks appear, you don't collapse. You adjust. You don't take failure personally, you take it as feedback. You stay in motion. You recover faster because you trust the process. People who change their lives are not the ones who never struggle. They are the ones who refuse to let struggle define them. Acting as if everything is working out also frees you from comparison. You stop measuring your timeline against someone else's. You understand that your path is unfolding in its own way, that clarity brings peace, and peace allows focus. Focus allows growth. Growth compounds over time into transformation. Listen to this every day because your environment constantly tries to pull you back into doubt. News, opinions, and past experiences will test your belief. This daily reminder strengthens your inner foundation. It keeps you aligned with who you are becoming instead of who you used to be. It reminds you that you are not reacting to life anymore, you are creating it. The most powerful part of this mindset is that it puts responsibility back in your hands. You stop waiting for motivation. You stop waiting for confidence. You act first. You move first. And through action, belief grows stronger. Life begins to respond differently to someone who shows up with certainty. Listen to this every day. And remember, you don't need proof to believe. You need belief to create proof. Act as if everything is working out for you, and you will start making decisions that align with growth, courage, and purpose. Over time, what once felt like faith becomes fact, and one day you will look back and realize that the moment you changed your mindset was the moment your life began to change. When you choose to act as if everything is working out, you are not denying reality, you are changing how you experience it. Fear often comes from the belief that something bad is about to happen and that you won't be able to handle it. Confidence, on the other hand, is the belief that no matter what happens, you can respond, adapt, and move forward. Acting as if things are working out shifts you from anticipation of loss into expectation of capability. That single shift changes how you think, feel, and act in every situation. Fear thrives on uncertainty. It feeds on unanswered questions and imagined outcomes. When your mind is focused on what could go wrong, your body reacts as if danger is already present. Your breathing becomes shallow, your muscles tighten, and your thoughts narrow. In this state, even small challenges feel overwhelming. Acting as if everything is working out interrupts this cycle. It sends a message to your nervous system that you are safe in the present moment. Safety creates space for calm, and calm is where confidence begins. This mindset changes the story you tell yourself. Instead of saying, "What if this fails?" you begin to say, "I'll figure it out." Instead of "I'm not ready," you think, "I'm learning as I go." These subtle changes in language may seem small, but they carry enormous power. Your inner dialogue shapes your emotional state, and your emotional state determines your behavior. Acting as if things are working out upgrades that dialogue from doubt to trust. Confidence grows through familiarity with success, but it also grows through familiarity with handling challenges. When you act as if things are aligning, you stop avoiding situations that make you uncomfortable. You step into them with a steadier mindset. Each time you do, you gather evidence, not that life is perfect, but that you are capable. That evidence builds self-trust. Self-trust is the foundation of confidence. Fear often causes hesitation. It makes you overthink decisions and delay action. Acting as if everything is working out reduces that hesitation. You stop waiting for perfect conditions and start moving with intention. Action creates momentum, and momentum creates belief. The more you move forward, the less power fear has. Confidence does not eliminate fear, it outgrows it. Your body plays a powerful role in this shift. When you act as if things are working out, your posture changes. You stand taller, your movements become more deliberate, your voice becomes clearer. These physical changes feed back into your brain, reinforcing the emotional shift from fear to confidence. Your body begins to reflect the state you are choosing internally, and your brain responds by strengthening that state. This mindset also changes how you interpret setbacks. When you are operating from fear, setbacks feel like proof that you were right to doubt yourself. When you are operating from confidence, setbacks feel like information. You don't take them personally. You take them seriously, learn from them, and keep going. Acting as if everything is working out helps you maintain emotional balance when things don't go as planned. You stay grounded instead of spiraling. Confidence is not loud or aggressive, it is calm and steady. Acting as if things are working out cultivates that calm. You stop rushing, you stop forcing outcomes, you trust timing. This inner calm allows you to listen more, observe more, and respond more wisely. You make better decisions because you are not driven by panic or desperation. Over time, this way of thinking becomes natural. What once felt like an effort becomes a habit. Your brain learns that uncertainty does not equal danger. It learns that challenges are survivable and often beneficial. Fear loses its grip because it no longer dominates your interpretation of events. Confidence takes its place, not as arrogance, but as quiet assurance. Acting as if everything is working out also frees you from constant comparison. Fear often grows when you measure yourself against others. Confidence grows when you stay aligned with your own path. This mindset helps you focus on your progress instead of someone else's timeline. That focus strengthens self-belief and reduces unnecessary pressure. The most important result of this shift is consistency. Fear creates inconsistency because it causes you to stop and start. Confidence creates steady progress. When you trust that things are unfolding in your favor, you keep showing up, you keep improving, you keep building. That consistency compounds into results that fear could never produce. Acting as if everything is working out shifts your inner state because it reminds you of your power. It teaches you that you are not at the mercy of circumstances. You are the one choosing how to respond. When you respond with trust instead of fear, confidence naturally follows. And as confidence grows, so does your ability to create the life you want. Your focus is the lens through which you experience life. It determines what stands out to you, what fades into the background, and what meaning you attach to everything that happens. Reality is full of countless details at every moment, but your mind can only process a small fraction of them. What you focus on decides which details become your truth. When you understand this, you realize that your experience of life is not shaped only by events, but by where your attention consistently rests. When your focus is fixed on problems, your mind becomes skilled at finding obstacles. You notice delays, mistakes, and shortcomings more than progress. Even positive events can be filtered through a negative lens, making them feel smaller or temporary. This focus can make life feel heavy and limiting, not because life is only problems, but because your attention is trained to highlight them. Over time, this creates a sense of frustration and helplessness, reinforcing the belief that things are not working out. On the other hand, when your focus shifts toward growth, possibility, and learning, your awareness changes. You begin to notice solutions that were always present but previously ignored. Opportunities that once felt invisible become obvious. This does not mean difficulties disappear. It means they no longer dominate your perception. Your reality begins to feel more open and manageable because your attention is no longer trapped in a narrow frame. Focus also shapes emotional experience. What you consistently think about influences how you feel. When you focus on what you lack, emotions like dissatisfaction and anxiety grow stronger. When you focus on what you are building, emotions like motivation and confidence increase. These emotions affect how you act, and your actions influence your outcomes. In this way, focus creates a chain reaction that shapes your daily experience. Your brain reinforces whatever you repeatedly notice. When you notice progress, no matter how small, your brain associates effort with reward. This encourages continued action. When you notice only failures, your brain associates effort with disappointment, which weakens motivation. The brain is constantly learning from what you highlight. Focus trains it to expect either growth or limitation. Focus also affects how you interpret people and situations. If you focus on criticism or rejection, you may perceive neutral interactions as negative. If you focus on connection and understanding, you may interpret the same interactions in a more balanced way. This influences relationships, communication, and confidence. The external world may remain unchanged, but your experience of it transforms. What you notice repeatedly becomes familiar, and familiarity feels like truth. This is why focus is so powerful. You may believe your view of reality is objective, but it is shaped by attention. Two people can live in the same environment and experience entirely different realities based on what they focus on. One sees obstacles everywhere. The other sees lessons and opportunities. The difference is not luck, it is attention. Focus also determines resilience. When setbacks occur, focusing on loss can drain energy and slow recovery. Focusing on what can be learned or improved helps you regain momentum. This does not mean ignoring disappointment. It means not living there. Where you return your focus after a setback determines how quickly you move forward. Over time, focus shapes identity. If you constantly notice your mistakes, you begin to identify as someone who fails. If you consistently notice effort and growth, you begin to see yourself as someone who improves. Identity influences behavior, and behavior shapes outcomes. This makes focus a foundational tool for change. Your focus is a daily choice. It is influenced by habits, environment, and internal dialogue, but it is not fixed. You can train it by intentionally directing attention toward what supports growth. This may require effort at first, especially if your mind is used to scanning for problems. But with practice, new patterns form and focus becomes easier to control. Your reality is not only what happens to you, it is what you consistently notice about what happens to you. When you choose your focus with intention, you shape your emotional state, your actions, and your results. By guiding your attention toward what empowers you, you gradually build a reality that reflects clarity, confidence, and possibility. Belief is not something you are born with fully formed. It is something your mind learns through repetition. Whatever you hear, think, and experience repeatedly becomes familiar, and whatever is familiar begins to feel true. This is why repetition is so powerful. It quietly shapes belief without requiring dramatic moments or sudden breakthroughs. Daily reminders work because they consistently feed the mind a message until that message becomes the default way of thinking. Your mind is always listening, even when you are not paying attention. Every repeated thought strengthens a mental pathway. If you repeatedly doubt yourself, your mind learns to expect hesitation. If you repeatedly remind yourself of your capability, your mind learns confidence. Over time, these repeated messages form beliefs that guide decisions automatically. You stop questioning whether you can move forward and start assuming that you can. Daily repetition creates certainty because certainty comes from familiarity. The mind resists what feels unfamiliar, even if it is positive. This is why change can feel uncomfortable at first. New beliefs challenge old patterns, but when a new belief is repeated consistently, the discomfort fades. What once felt forced becomes natural. What once felt hopeful becomes expected. This is how growth becomes stable instead of temporary. Repetition also trains emotional responses. When you remind yourself daily that challenges are part of growth, your emotional reaction to difficulty changes. Instead of panic or discouragement, you feel steadiness and resolve. The mind learns that obstacles are not threats, but signals for adaptation. This emotional shift supports consistent action, which further reinforces belief. Daily reminders shape attention. When you repeat messages of possibility and progress, your mind begins to look for evidence that supports them. You notice small wins you previously ignored. You recognize patterns of improvement. These observations strengthen belief because they provide proof aligned with the repeated message. Belief becomes rooted in experience, not wishful thinking. Repetition also builds discipline. Listening, reading, or reflecting daily creates structure. Structure stabilizes the mind. When your thoughts are guided regularly, you are less likely to drift into doubt or distraction. The mind becomes anchored to a direction instead of being pulled by every emotional wave. Growth depends on consistency more than intensity. A powerful message heard once may inspire, but a meaningful message repeated daily transforms. Each repetition layers confidence, clarity, and resilience. Over time, belief shifts from something you hope for into something you rely on. Daily reminders also protect you from external noise. Opinions, setbacks, and uncertainty constantly challenge belief. Repetition strengthens your internal foundation so that external circumstances have less influence over your mindset. You stay grounded even when things are unpredictable. Belief rewired through repetition changes behavior. When you believe growth is possible, you act differently. You take risks, stay consistent, and recover faster from setbacks. Action reinforces belief, creating a cycle of progress. This cycle begins with daily reminders that train the mind to expect growth instead of limitation. Repetition rewires belief because it works with how the mind naturally learns. It does not force change, it installs it gradually. When you commit to daily reminders, you are not just consuming motivation, you are training your mind. Over time, certainty replaces doubt, growth replaces stagnation, and belief becomes the foundation of your actions and your life. Confidence is not something you discover after everything is in place. It is something you build while things are still uncertain. Waiting for perfect conditions keeps confidence out of reach because perfection rarely arrives. There will always be unanswered questions, incomplete plans, and potential risks. When you wait for everything to feel safe or guaranteed, you stay stuck. Confidence grows when you move forward anyway, when you act despite uncertainty and prove to yourself that you can handle what comes next. Action teaches the mind what it is capable of. Every time you take a step forward, no matter how small, your brain records that experience. It learns that effort does not lead to collapse. It learns that discomfort is survivable. This learning is far more powerful than reassurance or positive thinking. Confidence becomes real when it is earned through experience, not imagined through preparation alone. Waiting often disguises itself as responsibility or patience, but many times it is fear in disguise. Fear convinces you that you need more information, more time, or more certainty before you begin. But action is what creates clarity. You don't gain confidence first and then act. You act first and confident. CE follows. Each action reduces uncertainty and replaces it with knowledge gained through doing. Action also breaks the cycle of overthinking. When you think without acting, your mind fills the gap with doubt. When you act, your attention shifts from speculation to execution. This shift quiets fear because fear feeds on inaction. Movement changes emotional state. Even small actions can interrupt anxiety and replace it with focus and momentum. Confidence strengthens through follow-through. When you do what you said you would do, your trust in yourself increases. This self-trust becomes the foundation of confidence. You stop relying on external validation and start relying on your own consistency. Confidence becomes internal and stable because it is built on your behavior, not on circumstances. Perfect conditions are an illusion. Growth happens in imperfect moments. Acting in less than ideal situations teaches adaptability. You learn how to adjust, improvise, and recover. These skills make you stronger and more capable. Confidence grows because you see that you don't need everything to go your way to move forward. Action also builds resilience. When things don't work out as planned, you learn that failure is not final. You learn how to recover and continue. Each recovery strengthens confidence more than uninterrupted success ever could. Confidence becomes grounded in resilience instead of fragile success. Taking action creates momentum, and momentum fuels belief. The more you move, the more capable you feel. The more capable you feel, the more willing you are to take the next step. This upward cycle replaces hesitation with progress. Confidence becomes a byproduct of consistent effort. Waiting delays growth. Acting accelerates it. Confidence is not something you wait to feel. It is something you build through movement. When you stop waiting for perfect conditions and start acting where you are, confidence begins to grow naturally. Over time, action reshapes identity, and you begin to see yourself as someone who moves forward regardless of uncertainty. That identity is confidence in its strongest form.